Lexi Hull's heroic fight, Aja Wilson's shock collapse, and Stephanie White's fiery accusation rigged WNBA. Kathy Engelbert, Adam Silver, and Nafisa Collier now locked in a power storm shaking the league's core. Fines, fury, and viral clips as the WNBA just hit its biggest scandal ever.
Afera kebabowa, drama kebabowa, kochani.
Tak, no jest dramka, jest dramka. Słuchajcie, generalnie się tutaj w tym filmie chcemy odnieść do tego, co się wydarzyło wczoraj, ale generalnie tak, za niedługo otwieramy naszego kepsa. Teraz trwa preotwarcie, czyli moment, w którym szkolimy naszą załogę, chcemy wyłapać wszystkie błędy i tak dalej. Dzisiaj nawet montujemy tutaj...
A minus 31 free throw gap. That's not a stat. It's an insult. When Lexi Hull stared down the scoreboard that night, she wasn't just fighting the Las Vegas Aces. She was fighting pain, disbelief, and the creeping sense that the game itself was turning against her team. Game 3 of the playoffs was supposed to showcase grit and talent, but it became a battlefield of chaos, whistles, and pure defiance. Hull had been questionable all week with a brutal back issue. Reporters saw her limping in warm-ups, grimacing after every stretch. Most expected her to give a few safe minutes, then sit. Instead, she exploded. 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, 1 steal, and 3 cold-blooded threes that turned Gainbridge Fieldhouse into an inferno. Each shot came at the exact moment Indiana looked ready to collapse. The pain didn't stop her. It sharpened her focus. Every possession was a war of will. She threw herself on the floor for loose balls, boxed out players 4 inches taller, and fought through every scream of her back like it was background noise. The crowd could feel it. This wasn't just effort, it was rebellion. A packed house of 17,000 roared for a player who refused to bend, even when everything around her looked unfair. But when the buzzer sounded, the story wasn't Hull's courage. It was the referees. Missed calls, swallowed whistles, and one-sided free throws turned victory into outrage. Indiana fans were furious. Online, the phrase "daylight robbery" started trending before the final score even posted. What should have been a chapter about heart instantly morphed into a case study in injustice. Hull didn't lash out. She stayed calm, eyes locked forward, body wrecked but spirit unbroken. That image, her standing amid the noise, silent and seething, captured exactly what Indiana felt. Fury wrapped in pride. Her performance became the soul of the Fever's playoff run, even if the stat sheets couldn't measure it. Now the question lingers like an echo. Was Game 3 just bad officiating, or something far bigger? Because when a player gives everything, fights through pain, and still gets buried under controversy, it stops being a box score story. It becomes a symbol. And that night, Lexi Hull became one.
Tym razem jednak influencerka zdecydowała się podzielić z fanami niezwykle poważną informacją. W opublikowanym nagraniu zdradziła, że zmaga się z rakiem tarczycy. Jak wyjaśniła, wszystko wskazuje na to, że konieczne będzie całkowite usunięcie tarczycy, a to budzi w niej duże obawy. Zwłaszcza o głos, który jest jednym z jej znaków rozpoznawczych. Klara przyznała, że boi się, iż po operacji jej chrypka może zniknąć lub głos zmieni się nie do poznania.
It started with whispers inside the boardrooms and locker rooms. But it didn't stay quiet for long. Nafisa Collier's explosion changed everything. Her words, the worst leadership in the world, didn't just criticize a commissioner. They tore open the fragile fabric holding the WNBA together. Suddenly, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert wasn't just managing a league, she was fighting for survival. Under Engelbert's watch, the WNBA had been on a financial rise. The league pulled in its first ever $75 million capital raise in 2022, added nearly $1 billion in new franchise fees, and hit record sponsorship numbers this season. On paper, everything screamed growth, but inside the league, that growth wasn't translating into loyalty. Players whispered that she was disconnected, owners said she was distant, and fans, well, they were watching the chaos unfold in real time. Collier's comments didn't come from nowhere. They came after months of building frustration about officiating, league image, and how the WNBA handles its stars. Players felt unheard. Coaches fined for calling out refs saw no accountability. And now, with the playoffs drowning in controversy, the one person who should have restored order seemed missing in action. The timing couldn't have been worse. Because the spotlight wasn't just on Engelbert anymore, it was turning toward Adam Silver. The NBA commissioner, often described as the invisible hand behind the W, suddenly found his name in headlines he didn't want. The Athletic, backed by the New York Times, dropped a headline so sharp it cut through the noise. Engelbert may not even be the present. Inside sources said the owners, those who actually sign her checks, were losing patience fast. The NBA owns 42% of the WNBA. Another 42% belongs to the league itself. The remaining slice sits with investors tied directly to NBA ownership. Translation: Adam Silver holds the real power. And when fingers started pointing toward him for the WNBA's chaos, the writing was on the wall. Silver doesn't take heat quietly. He fixes it. Fast. And usually that means someone else takes the fall. The whispers inside league offices were ruthless. She doesn't move the room. She doesn't listen. No charisma, no control. One owner called her communication tone-deaf. Another source said she's impossible to reach in moments of crisis. For a league trying to expand, trying to build emotional connection with fans, that was fatal. The WNBA is built on personality. Players who speak up, fans who feel every play, teams that stand for something. But its leader was invisible. Still, Engelbert's defenders point to numbers. Record TV ratings, packed arenas, and global sponsors finally paying attention. But growth means nothing without trust. And right now, the WNBA's credibility is bleeding from every direction. Officiating scandals, public player clashes, and online conspiracies have overshadowed the league's biggest season yet. Even supporters are asking if leadership can handle the weight of its own success. Then came the rumors of replacements. Mark Tatum, currently the NBA's deputy commissioner, was one of the names floating around in league circles. He's respected, calm under fire, and loyal to Silver. The logic was simple. Silver would never let his own reputation burn to protect someone else's. When fans, media, and even stars began saying, "This is on Adam too," the pressure reached its breaking point, and Collier knew exactly what she was doing. By challenging leadership publicly, she forced the owners to pick a side between the players driving viewership and the executives behind the scenes. In an era where transparency and authenticity sell, her rebellion landed harder than any corporate statement could. Suddenly, Engelbert's polished image cracked under the weight of raw truth. The irony: Engelbert was supposed to be the steady hand. A former Deloitte CEO, she was brought in to professionalize the WNBA, stabilize its finances, and make it attractive to investors. She did all of that, but what she never managed to do was inspire. Growth without connection breeds resentment, and that's exactly what's happened. The players don't feel represented, the fans don't feel heard, and now, even the owners seem ready for a change. Behind the curtain, Adam Silver faces a strategic dilemma. Fire her, and he risks admitting the WNBA has been mismanaged under his oversight. Keep her, and his silence looks like complicity. Either way, his fingerprints are on this crisis, and insiders say he knows it. The smart money says he'll act soon, replace Engelbert before the next CBA talks, frame it as progress, and move on before the outrage sticks. But the bigger story goes beyond one person losing a job. It's about a power shift in women's basketball. The players have more influence than ever. Collier's generation, outspoken, entrepreneurial, connected, won't just sit quietly while executives make decisions in the dark. They're not afraid to use their voices, and social media amplifies every syllable. For the first time, leadership is being challenged publicly, loudly, and with receipts. That pressure isn't bad. It's evolution. The WNBA is growing up fast, faster than its leadership structure ever expected. And when a league built on empowerment faces a credibility test, the response defines its future. Engelbert can survive numbers. She can't survive losing trust. The sponsors may love the spreadsheets, but the fans follow emotion. The next few weeks could decide not only her job, but how the WNBA is seen for years to come. Corporate project or real movement. And as the spotlight burns hotter, one thing's for sure. Adam Silver's name isn't going anywhere. Because when the league's chaos starts reflecting on the NBA, he'll move fast to clean house. The only question is whether he'll do it for the good of the game, or just to protect his own image. Either way, the fuse has been lit. Collier started it. Engelbert's fighting to outlast it. And Silver, the silent giant above it all, might soon decide who gets burned first.
W dzisiejszym odcinku omówimy takie tematy jak Lexi ponownie nabiera widzów, kolejne problemy związane z kebabem Przemka i Freeza, M. Gabi wciąż tłumaczy się z randki z czajnikiem, Clarsonium podzieliła się diagnozą.
Stephanie White didn't just lose her temper. She detonated a truth bomb that had been simmering all season. After Game 3 between the Indiana Fever and Las Vegas Aces, she looked straight into the cameras and said what millions of fans were already thinking. The disrespect is unbelievable. A -31 free throw gap, phantom fouls, swallowed whistles. This wasn't just bad luck. To her, it was corruption hiding in plain sight. That press conference flipped the league upside down. Coaches almost never crossed that line, but White didn't care. She demanded a full investigation, accusing officials of tilting the game and stripping players of fair competition. Within hours, social media erupted. Slow-motion clips, frame-by-frame breakdowns, hashtags like rigged series, trending across platforms. Even neutral fans admitted something felt off. The semifinals that should have celebrated elite basketball turned into a courtroom of public opinion. And behind the chaos were real human stories buried under noise. Lexi Hull playing through pain like a warrior. Aaliyah Boston locking down the league's MVP with textbook defense. Their performances should have been historic, yet all anyone talked about were the referees. Every highlight was overshadowed by doubt, every roar drowned by shrill whistles. The deeper frustration wasn't just one game, it was a pattern. Players and coaches from multiple teams had already hinted at inconsistency all year. Then the Fever Aces series poured gasoline on that fire. When every close call leans one way, trust dies fast. And without trust, no league can thrive. White's explosion forced a reckoning. The WNBA's growth is undeniable, but its credibility is now on trial. Fans aren't just demanding better officiating, they're demanding transparency. Because once a sport's integrity is questioned, every future victory feels tainted. Now, the league stands at a crossroads. Will it investigate and rebuild faith, or bury the story under silence? The players have spoken. The fans have spoken. Even silence speaks volumes. One thing's certain, this postseason will be remembered not for trophies or highlights, but for the night a coach dared to call out the system and made the whole basketball world listen.